When she disappears for months and you hear nothing but silence, it's easy to assume she has forgotten you, that she has moved on, that you no longer matter. But that silence doesn't always mean peace. It often means she's fighting her own battle in the quiet. A woman's silence after walking away isn't always victory. Sometimes it's her way of coping with the emotional storm she doesn't want anyone to see. She's trying to convince herself she's fine, that she's strong without you, but deep down,
Yeah.
she's wrestling with memories that won't fade, with emotions that refuse to die, and with the realization that cutting you off doesn't cut the feelings away. When a woman goes months without reaching out, it's rarely because she doesn't think about you. It's because thinking about you hurts too much. She's trying to win against her own heart to prove to herself that she can stay detached, that she doesn't need you to feel complete. But every time she checks your social media in secret, every time she sees your name pop up somewhere, a small part of her pride cracks. Her silence is her defense mechanism. It's her way of regaining control over the emotions that once made her vulnerable. But control and peace are not the same thing. Control is exhausting, control is pretending. The truth is, she's fighting a battle you can't see. On the surface, she seems fine, like she's moved on, but underneath that calm, there's confusion. She wonders what you're doing, if you've already replaced her, if you're happier without her. And even if she tries to ignore those thoughts, they visit her in quiet moments late at night, during a song, or when she passes a place that reminds her of you. That's when she realizes that silence doesn't erase connection, it only amplifies it. The longer she goes without hearing from you, the louder her own thoughts become. It's human nature to mistake silence for indifference, but often silence is the loudest cry for control. She's not reaching out because she doesn't want to look weak. She's not calling because she's afraid of rejection. She's trying to preserve her pride by pretending she's above missing you. But the irony is that very effort is proof that she does. No one fights this hard to prove they're over someone they never cared about. She's fighting you in her mind every single day, replaying arguments, reliving memories, trying to rewrite the story in a way that doesn't make her feel like she lost. But deep down, she knows walking away didn't end the story, just paused it. And this is where most men make the mistake. They take her silence personally as if it's proof of finality. They think it means she's forgotten, that there's no way back. But in reality, her silence is part of her process. She needs that space to feel the absence, to taste the emptiness she created, because eventually that emptiness becomes unbearable. At first, it feels like freedom. Then it starts to feel like something's missing. Finally, it turns into a void she can't fill, no matter how many distractions she finds. So don't misunderstand her silence as peace. Understand it for what it truly is, a storm she's trying to navigate alone. While she's out there convincing herself she doesn't need you, she's slowly realizing she can't forget you. The silence that she thought would set her free becomes the very thing that traps her in her own emotions. The longer it lasts, the more she starts to see that maybe it wasn't you who lost anything, it was her. Because at the end of the day, silence can hide a lot of things: anger, confusion, even love. But it can't hide truth forever. And when that truth starts echoing louder than her pride, that's when she'll realize the battle she's been fighting isn't against you, it's against herself. When a woman pulls away for months and cuts off all contact, it often looks like a clean break, like she's found clarity and moved on with her life. But the truth is that distance doesn't always come from peace, it comes from confusion. You see, when emotions are too strong, when feelings become too heavy to carry, some people run not because they've stopped caring, but because they can't handle how much they still do. Her silence, her absence, that long stretch of no contact is her attempt to escape the very emotions she doesn't know how to process. Deep down, she's torn between her heart and her pride. One side misses you, the other side refuses to admit it. That's why she doesn't text, doesn't call, doesn't check in. She's not ready to face what those actions might mean. She's confused, not about what she felt, but about why she still feels it. She's trying to convince herself she's moved on, but every time she catches a glimpse of you online, every time something reminds her of you, her mind begins to spiral again. That's not clarity, that's conflict. And conflict doesn't bring peace, it only delays it. A woman who has truly moved on doesn't need to hide, block, or go silent. When she's healed, she feels no need to erase you. You simply fade into the background of her life. But when she chooses this distance instead of indifference, it's a sign that something inside her is unsettled. She's trying to control the uncontrollable. She believes that by avoiding you, she can starve her emotions. But emotions don't die in silence, they grow in it. The absence becomes a mirror, reflecting back everything she's been trying to bury. And as the days turn into weeks and weeks turn into months, that confusion starts to weigh on her. She starts wondering, was it really the right decision to leave? Did she overact? Did she let her ego guide her more than her heart? These questions come slowly at first, but over time, they start haunting her in moments she least expects. While she's laughing with friends, while she's scrolling through her phone at night, or when she passes a place that reminds her of the time you spent together, that confusion resurfaces. It's not something she can switch off because genuine connections don't fade overnight. The truth is, her silence is not her strength, it's her escape. She's avoiding the very emotions that could bring her healing because she doesn't want to face vulnerability again. She's protecting her ego more than her peace. And while she's trying to convince herself she's over you, she's unknowingly building a wall between herself and the truth. That truth being, she still feels something, and pretending otherwise only prolongs her pain. But here's the part you must understand: this confusion she's living in, it's not your responsibility to fix it. It's not your job to chase, to explain, or to prove your worth. Because if she truly believed she was better off without you, she wouldn't need silence to prove it. She would simply move forward with peace, not with distance. Her silence is her struggle, not your rejection. And the longer it goes on, the clearer it becomes. She's not detached, she's conflicted, she's not free. She's trapped between missing you and not wanting to admit it. She's trying to win an internal war that only time can end. But one day, when that pride begins to crack, when confusion outweighs control, she'll start to see that walking away didn't make her stronger. It just left her wondering what could have been if she had faced her feelings instead of running from them. In the end, her silence isn't clarity, it's chaos wearing a mask of control. And when the mask finally falls, the truth will hit harder than any words ever could. When months pass without a word from her, it's easy to assume she's forgotten you, that you've become just another closed chapter in her story. But in reality, that silence often means something deeper. It means she's testing herself, seeing how far she can go without you, convincing herself that she's fine when deep down she's not. She's trying to prove that she doesn't need you, that walking away was the right choice, that she's stronger on her own. But every attempt to bury those feelings only pulls her further into them. The more she tries to convince herself she's over you, the more she realizes that she's not as free as she thought she was. When a woman goes silent for months, it's rarely because she feels nothing. It's because she feels too much and doesn't know how to manage it. She's fighting her emotions in private, pretending that the distance is making her stronger, when in truth, it's making her miss you in ways she didn't expect. She replays old conversations, moments that once seemed small but now carry weight. She wonders if you've moved on, if you still think about her, if your silence means you finally let her go. These thoughts come like waves, unpredictable and persistent, crashing against the wall she's built around herself. And that's the irony. She thinks that by cutting you off, she's taking control. But in reality, that silence is what's making her lose it. Because silence doesn't erase connection, it amplifies it. It creates space for reflection, for longing, for curiosity. She starts questioning why your absence feels so heavy if she's truly moved on. She starts noticing how no one else compares, how the conversations she has with others lack the spark she had with you. She tries to replace what she lost, but replacements never carry the same depth as something real. This is the phase where her pride and her heart go to war. Pride tells her to keep quiet, to stay strong, to not reach out first, but her heart whispers a different story, one of regret, of what ifs, of mischances. She scrolls through old photos, rereads your messages, but still refuses to break the silence because admitting she misses you feels like losing. That's the dangerous power of ego. It convinces her to suffer in silence just to avoid appearing weak. But as time goes on, something inside her begins to shift. The silence that once felt like power now starts to feel like punishment. She begins to see that she's not proving strength by staying quiet, she's proving stubbornness. And that realization slowly eats away at her defenses. because no matter how long she stays away, that emotional connection doesn't just vanish, it lingers in her subconscious in the moments when her guard is down, in the quiet nights when no one else is around. She may start checking your social media again, subtly looking for signs of you, who you're talking to, how you're living, if you've changed. She might even convince herself that she's just curious, but deep down, she knows it's more than that. It's not curiosity, it's longing disguised as detachment. Every little thing she sees about you triggers memories she tried to suppress. Every glimpse of your growth, your confidence, your calmness in her absence makes her question her decision even more. And that's when the tables begin to turn, because the longer she stays silent, the more she feels your absence, not as an empty space, but as a presence she can't shake off. That's when she realizes that walking away didn't give her peace, it gave her perspective. She begins to understand that emotional distance doesn't heal the heart, it only exposes what's real. So when she goes months without contacting you, it's not always about indifference. Sometimes it's the quiet storm of realization building when then her the slow recognition that letting you go was easier than living without you. And in time, when that silence becomes too loud to bear, she'll find herself drawn back to the very energy she tried so hard to escape. Because true emotional bonds don't fade with time, they intensify with distance. There comes a moment in her silence when something unexpected begins to happen. She starts to see the contrast between the man she left behind and the man you are becoming without her. It's subtle at first. Maybe she hears about you through a mutual friend. Maybe she stumbles upon a post of yours. Or maybe she simply feels the shift energetically. You're not chasing anymore. You're not waiting by the phone, replaying what went wrong, or checking if she's online. You've redirected all that emotional energy inward into your growth, your peace, your purpose. And that change doesn't go unnoticed, because when you stop needing her validation, you reclaim something far more powerful, your masculine presence. While she's been in silence, trying to convince herself she's fine, you've been building. You've started focusing on your goals again, pushing your limits, reconnecting with who you were before the pain. You've stopped reacting emotionally and started acting intentionally. You no longer seek closure or chase answers. You've created your own. That's when your energy shifts from attachment to confidence. You no longer need to prove your worth to her. You're living it. And that quiet transformation starts echoing louder than any message you could send. What she doesn't realize is that your silence, backed by self improvement, is the loudest statement you can make. It tells her that you've accepted what happened, learned from it, and moved forward with strength. It shows her that she no longer controls your emotions or your sense of peace. And that realization starts to eat away at her composure, because once a woman sees a man thriving without her, not pretending, but truly thriving, something deep inside her shifts. Her mind begins to race with questions she never expected to ask. How did he move on so easily? Was I really that replaceable? Has he stopped caring? That's when the power dynamic flips entirely. Your growth becomes the mirror she can't avoid. Every new success you achieve, every ounce of calmness you display, every sign that you've detached emotionally reminds her of what she lost. She begins to see that the man who once chased her is now the man she can't reach. That quiet confidence, that unshakable presence, it starts drawing her back in, because women are naturally drawn to strength, to stability, to the kind of energy that doesn't beg or cling, but simply exists with certainty. Your progress becomes magnetic. And here's the thing, she might not reach out immediately. Her pride will still whisper that she shouldn't, but her curiosity will overpower her silence. She'll start testing the waters. A subtle like on your photo, a random message that seems casual but carries weight, a just checking in text that really means I miss you. She'll pretend it's nothing, but you'll know better, because it's never about what she says, it's about what she feels behind the words. She's drawn not to the memory of who you were, but to the reality of who you've become. You see, emotional detachment isn't about indifference. It's about self mastery. It's about showing her through your actions that your happiness no longer depends on her approval. You've stepped into your own power, and that energy is something she can feel even from miles away. It unsettles her, it attracts her, makes her wonder if she misjudged you, if she underestimated your strength. The truth is, when you grow in silence, you create an energy that speaks for you. You no longer have to chase, because what's meant for you begins to return naturally. And when she finally realizes that you're no longer the man who needed her, that's when she begins to need you more than ever. Because emotional detachment, when done from a place of strength, doesn't push her away. It forces her to see your value clearly for the first time. And in that clarity, she'll feel the pull to come back, not because you demanded it, but because your silence and your growth reminded her exactly what she lost. When months go by without her contacting you, what truly starts to bother her isn't just your absence, it's the fact that you're no longer emotionally accessible to her. She thought silence would keep her in control, that by ignoring you, she could make you chase again. But instead, your calm acceptance has done something far more powerful. It's made her realize that the emotional connection she once took for granted is gone. The man who used to react, who used to beg for answers or closure, is now centered, calm, and detached. And this shift begins to unsettle her more than any message or argument ever could. Because when a man stops giving his emotional energy to a woman who expected it endlessly, she begins to feel a void she didn't think would exist. Your silence becomes the space where her thoughts get louder. She starts to remember the way you used to make her feel, the comfort of your presence, the security in your consistency. But when she looks now, that version of you isn't there anymore. And that's exactly what makes her start missing you in ways she can't explain. Because the truth is, people often don't miss the person, they miss how that person made them feel. And your absence has forced her to confront the emotional emptiness that her pride tried to ignore. She thought she could fill that gap with distractions, new people, temporary excitement, but nothing compares to the calm strength you once brought into her life. Time is a powerful teacher, and as it passes, it begins revealing the difference between what was real and what was just temporary. In the beginning, she may have believed she could move on easily. Maybe she told herself she was fine. Maybe she even looked happy on the surface. But as the weeks turn into months, the emotional high fades and the loneliness creeps in, and that's when she starts to question her decisions. Because the more she goes without your energy, the more she starts realizing it wasn't you who needed her. It was her who needed the version of herself that existed when she was with you. You brought out a sense of calm, belonging, and emotional security that she can't find in anyone else, no matter how hard she tries. The real turning point happens when she starts feeling your emotional distance, not the physical one, but the energetic one. She senses that you're not thinking about her anymore, that you've moved on not just in your routine, but in your heart. That's when panic sets in because women are deeply intuitive. They can feel when a man has detached emotionally. And when she feels that shift, when she realizes she no longer has access to your heart, that's when her silence starts haunting her. She may try to resist the urge to reach out, but her curiosity, her regret, and her ego will begin to clash. She'll wonder if you've replaced her, if you even care anymore, if she made the biggest mistake of her life by letting you walk away. And while she's caught in that storm of thoughts, you remain grounded. That's the power of emotional detachment. It doesn't just protect your peace, it makes you magnetic. The more you focus on yourself, your health, your career, your happiness, the more she feels the contrast. Your life keeps expanding while hers starts feeling stuck in emotional confusion. She thought ignoring you would make her stronger, but in truth, it only made her realize how much she lost when she lost your emotional presence. This is why your silence, when backed by growth, becomes unstoppable. You're no longer reacting to her absence, you're building something far more important, a life so fulfilling that she can't help but want to be part of it again. And when she finally breaks her silence, it won't be because she suddenly remembered you. It'll because time has shown her that losing you meant losing peace, stability, and genuine connection. That's when you'll know you've truly won, not because she came back, but because you no longer need her to. There comes a point after months of silence when everything she thought she controlled starts slipping away from her. That's when her emotions begin turning against her. At first, ignoring you might have given her a sense of power. She may have told herself that she was the one making the choice, that her silence meant strength, that she didn't need you anymore. But over time, that silence becomes heavier, lonelier, and far more painful than she ever expected. Because when a woman cuts off contact thinking you'll wait forever, she forgets one simple truth: time changes everything. It doesn't just heal you, It exposes her, it reveals what was real, what was pride, and what she truly lost when she lost your presence. At first, she might feel in control, believing she's moved on. But as the days turn into weeks and the weeks turn into months, the absence starts to sting in a way she can't ignore. The little reminders begin to haunt her. A place you both visited, a song that once played in the car, a random phrase that echoes something you used to say. She tries to brush them off, but they start stacking up like quiet whispers of regret. And that's when she realizes that silence isn't peace anymore. It's punishment. Every day without your presence starts to feel like a day missing something meaningful, something she didn't value enough when she had it. Meanwhile, your silence, your decision to move forward without chasing, becomes your greatest strength. She expected you to reach out, to ask if she's okay, to beg for closure, but you didn't. You chose your peace, you chose self respect. And that silence is what starts echoing in her mind, because when a man who once cared deeply suddenly stops giving his attention, that shift becomes deafening. She begins to wonder if you've forgotten her, if you've moved on, if you even think about her anymore. That uncertainty eats at her, and it's in that space of doubt that her pride begins to crumble. As time stretches further, she begins replaying the story differently. She stops remembering why she left and starts remembering why she stayed for as long as she did. She remembers your loyalty, your effort, the way you made her feel secure when everything else in her life felt uncertain. The longer she goes without that energy, the more she starts realizing that not all connections can be replaced. That kind of emotional bond doesn't fade with silence, it deepens through contrast. Every person she meets after you only highlights what you gave that no one else can. And that's when she begins missing not just you, but the version of herself that existed when she was with you, calm, safe, and loved. This is why emotional detachment is so powerful. It doesn't come from bitterness or revenge, it comes from acceptance. You accepted that chasing her wouldn't bring her back, that forcing communication would only push her further away. And in that acceptance, you found strength, the kind that quietly commands respect, because real strength isn't in trying to prove a point, it's in moving on gracefully while time proves it for you. That's exactly what begins happening as the months pass. Your growth speaks louder than any message ever could. By now, she can feel your transformation. She can sense that you're no longer waiting for her return. Maybe she sees it through your confidence, your achievements, or simply the energy you carry now, lighter, happier, focused. That's when the tables truly turn. The very silence she once used as a weapon now works against her. The longer she stays away, the more she realizes that you're no longer the same man she left. You've evolved into the man she always wanted, but now he no longer needs her. And that's the ultimate shift when she starts chasing, not because she wants to win you back, but because she wants to feel again what she's lost forever.